to the Fair Lawn Chamber of Commerce Business Spotlight. Hi, my name is Alan Cohen. I am on the board of directors for the Fair Lawn Chamber of Commerce, and it is my pleasure to do these interviews and learn so much about our community. Today, I have a great guest for you. He is the mayor of Fair Lawn. His name is Kurt Peluso. He is also the senior director of programs partnerships for Everyone On, a national nonprofit that creates social and economic opportunity by connecting everyone to the internet, regardless of income. I'd like to introduce you to Mayor Kurt Peluso. Hi there, Mayor. How are you today?
Hey, Alan, doing great. Thank you so much for having me today. It's always a pleasure taking part in these conversations and answering questions. I think it's really essential for a local government to be engaged with our community, and this is a great resource to do that.
Great. Thank you for joining us. Everybody wants to know about you as the mayor, but they're also going to want to know the person behind the mayor. It's so great to have a young mayor in town that is from our community. How long have you actually been in the community, first of all?
My whole life. So I was born and raised here in Fair Lawn, went through the school system. My grandma moved to Fair Lawn from the Bronx in the 1950s. She still has the same house on Marshall, and my family's pretty committed to this community. It's hard to leave with all the great stuff we have here.
Great. That's great. So, and you're raising your family here as well, I understand.
I am. I have a great wife and two young boys.
That's terrific.
Young, but I keep forgetting my oldest one's in middle school already, and he's almost my height, but he'll always be young to me.
Yeah, of course. So they are in the public schools here in town?
They are. I have one son in Warren Point and one in PJ.
That's great. And so why are they in different? Because of the border law? What was that they could go to different schools at different times?
Yeah. So they're in different based on their grades. So in Fair Lawn, now once you graduate fourth grade, you go to middle school. So my oldest one's in middle school. The younger one's in elementary school. They did have soft borders here in Fair Lawn. I spoke to the superintendent last week, and they did end that here in the borough, which we're really excited about. And the borough and the Board of Ed are going to work hand in hand to make sure we can ensure that all our kids could go to their neighborhood schools.
That's great. I didn't mean to get there that fast, but since you brought it up, could you just explain a little bit what soft borders were?
So soft borders was a policy initiated by the Board of Education. And just so people know, the Board of Ed and the municipal government are two separate entities, but the Board of Education initiated it just because of the class sizes. So they had some students go to different elementary schools so they could accommodate smaller class sizes. But more information that could definitely be provided by the Board of Ed and the superintendent.
Yeah, because that was like a key selling point, I think, for a lot of families moving in. Oh, you move to Radburn, you go to Radburn School. It's a great school. You go to the Morlot area. That's a great school. So people were interested in coming to particular schools, and then that law came into effect, and it didn't necessarily mean that you would go to that school or you'd be able to send your children. So you're happy that it kind of ended. How long did it run? How long was that for?
It wasn't too long, a little over a year. But what they did do, and I do want to emphasize, every school here in Fair Lawn's great. We're really fortunate to have some amazing teachers and leaders in our school district. But what the big thing is, we want to be a walkable community. And, how we're divided based on our school districts is with train tracks, because we don't want students crossing the train. So when we start sending kids to different schools, it makes that a lot to make it walkable and bikeable. So having the neighborhood schools is important to make sure we're a walkable community.
That's terrific. Okay, thank you for explaining that. And I didn't mean
no problem.
It's great that we got right to it. Also, I did notice just before we go into the mayor aspect of it, you're also you volunteer a lot for the schools, for your children's schools, as coach for the baseball, soccer, track. So you are also involved in the community itself as a parent.
Oh yeah, 100%. Even before I was a parent, I volunteered for this community. When we used to have the Senior Olympics, I volunteer for that program. I've been a volunteer for our youth sports for many years. And I also was the high school track coach for a number of years. I was an athlete at Fairlawn High School. When I was fortunate to get recruited to college as a pole vaulter for track. So I went to University of Rhode Island as a pole vaulter. Unfortunately, I blew out my knee my first couple months there, and kind of geared more towards coaching. It's been really enjoyable coaching my kids and coaching all the kids here in Fairlawn. It's really enjoyable to see like smiles on their face and be part of it, and kind of teach, not just the winning aspect, but sportsmanship and how to really enjoy athletics for what they are.
That's terrific. That's a great benefit the community has by having a person like you. I used to coach my daughter's softball leagues as well. I used to have to drive them every week, and I have two daughters, 3 years apart. I drive them every week, then watch some other father yelling at all the kids. I say, wait a second. Why do I yell at all the kids? And anyway, I didn't know much about it, how to coach, but when I got into it, same like you get so involved, and it is actually very rewarding working with the youth and giving them those skills about, of course, winning, but of course, sportsmanship and everything else that comes with it. So that's terrific that you're doing that. So a little bit about your background, because you're a mayor. What gave you that inspiration to do that? I know you became on the council first. You became a council member first. So how did your education bring you to that, or it just happened?
Yeah, so I do get asked this question a lot, and I try looking back on it. I really wasn't involved with student government when I was in high school, or had much of an interest in it. But then I look back now that I'm older and more involved, and I always had like a passion for standing up for people and helping people out. So I'll never forget my senior year in high school. Traditionally, Fairlawn has always had their prom on a Thursday evening. My year, they switched it to a Friday. And we had a number of Jewish students that were unable to attend their prom because of religious expectations. So they felt uncomfortable speaking out against it. So I spoke for them. And I'll never forget how appreciative they were, because I think a lot of people are intimidated, when you have to speak in front of the principal, the vice principal. And we fought really hard to try to get it changed. And even though we didn't get it changed my year, they never had a prom on a Friday again. They switched them back to Thursday for all the students going forward. And then when I got to college, and I mentioned earlier, I blew out my knee, so I couldn't participate in track anymore. I wanted to be involved some way with my school. So I ran for student senate as the commuter representative. And I believe this is my sophomore year. I was fortunate enough to win. So I did that for a couple of years. And then when I got involved with Fairlawn, I did align more with the Democratic Party. I got involved with them. And I was really fortunate that the leadership there saw a lot of potential in me and really gave me the opportunity to run what people considered that back then as a young age. I became the youngest elected councilman in Fairlawn, later become the youngest elected mayor. And I really owe a debt of gratitude to the people who really supported it. Because when I first ran, even though I was a father of two, I had a number of people who really attacked me for my age and say, what does this kid know, even though I was in my 20s at the time. I had a different perspective, obviously being young. And at the time, we didn't have any young parents on the council. Everyone had kids that went through the school system, but they were over with it. So when I got elected to the council, I had that different opinion of looking at our parks, because I just don't remember what it was from years back, but I was on the parks. I was playing with my kids. So that's how I really got involved. And it's been very interesting and a great learning experience since then.
All right. So you originally started as a council member, correct? So how long were you a council member before you actually went out to be?
Yes. So in Fairlawn's form of government, everyone runs as a council member. And then the council selects the deputy mayors and the mayor. So I was a councilman for the first few years. Then I became a deputy mayor. And now I've been the mayor since May of 2018.
Great. So your responsibilities obviously got larger and larger as you did it. So what are some of your main duties right now? I mean, I know mayor, but just to find out a little bit as far as your actual responsibilities, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So and they will change day to day, but I can tell you my responsibilities have gained tremendously since COVID hit. I put a lot of it on myself, but my top priority right now is to get vaccines here in Fair Lawn for the borough. I've been working with our borough manager, working with our health department to accomplish that. Whoops, sorry, the power just went out. There it goes. So I've been working with with our officials to get that done. I've been on the phone nonstop with the state and county, and I'm really confident that we'll be able to accomplish a vaccination site here in the borough of Fair Lawn shortly. The other thing is, making sure all our residents are fed. We had a number of people lost their jobs once COVID hit. And I believe at one point we were delivering 600 meals, and Meals on Wheels couldn't handle the demand. So I can't thank them enough, but our first responders stepped up and helped us deliver those meals to the residents. So that's a big thing. And the big thing too is just make sure people could afford their rent. I get a number of calls and emails from people who just can't afford their houses right now. So we're working with everyone we can to get that done. We're working with our state representatives to make sure people are getting the unemployment benefits that they deserve, because there's so much backlog there. So those are really the big main focuses. Now, if we go back to 2018, none of that was my focus. But it really is dependent on the time.
Right. So obviously it's a live job. You have to face what comes at you at the time.
100%.
That's great. But you were also on many committees as council member. Are you still on those committees, which included open space subcommittee, economics, municipal finance, etc.? Are you still working with those committees?
Yeah, so some have changed, some of the same. The finance committee has been something I've been on since day one, since we created that committee. I've been fortunate that elected officials, both past and present, see my passion when it comes to the finances of this borough. We were really fortunate that over the last 4 years, this is actually, we just introduced the budget. So this will be the fourth budget in a row that we're going to have a 0% municipal tax increase. And we've been working really hard on that. We also really know that a lot of residents in Fair Lawn rely on a lot of services that we have to offer. So we haven't decreased any services at all over the past 4 years. And we've actually gone the opposite direction and increased them tremendously. We've increased the amount of events we're offering. We're also enhanced a number of the programs. So we're really excited to roll those out. Unfortunately, a lot of them got pushed off last year just because of COVID. But once we're able to be back together again, we got a bunch of events planned out, and they're going to be better than they've ever been before. And I can't wait. A number of those, and we also want to have events, to celebrate the sacrifices so many people made. Our healthcare workers, obviously number one, all our teachers, our police department, our fire department, our ambulance, our heavy rescue, our CERT team, just have all been so top notch. So, we're going to do a lot of celebrating when we can.
Yeah, I like that. Very, very positive. Let's celebrate. I think we're all ready for that one big celebration.
That's it. We're holding tight. We do see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're not there yet. So, we're taking the advice of the CDC and we're holding tight. And once we can, we're ready for it.
Right. So let me just ask you, but if there was no tax increase with 0% tax increase, how are you going to be able to support these new events, these new programs that you're rolling out?
Yeah, so it's a number of things. One is looking for more shared service opportunities. We just entered a contract with Bergen County where our longtime engineer retired, and we had a very young staff here. So we want some guidance for them. So we signed a 3-year contract with Bergen County to rely on them to provide some of their services. That move is going to save the borough over $100,000 a year. We have a number of other issues like that. We also brought on a grant writer. So we've been aggressively pursuing more and more grants. I was on a call with the state last week. We should be getting $50,000 to help with our pedestrian safety, which we're excited about. And it's also just the economics here in the borough of Fair Lawn. The value of Fair Lawn has increased tremendously. What you're seeing is a lot more people are investing in their homes than they were in the past. During the 80s and 90s, a lot of people would kind of get to a certain level on the socioeconomic ladder and then almost move out of town. Instead, we're seeing people invest in their homes and almost building up, which is great to see those investments. And people just don't want to leave the borough of Fair Lawn. I spoke to a resident the other day who was looking to move to, they mentioned Wyckoff, Oakland, Mahwah, Midland Park. And then they saw the services that they would be losing out by leaving Fair Lawn. And they came back here and they made a bigger investment on their home. So those are the great things that we're really proud of here. Fair Lawn's unique in that people just don't want to leave. You see a lot more communities where they're more transit. But people realize, when you look outside of Fair Lawn, you really appreciate what we have here.
That's terrific. Well, I have noticed that there's a lot more senior activities and programs for the seniors. Obviously, it's a little tougher now, but we do have a large amount of seniors in our area. And there were a couple of senior living homes that just opened up in town, correct?
That's correct. We do have a number of seniors here. Our senior citizen center is one of the best in the state. Just the amount of activities. A lot of people don't know they run 7 days a week. My grandma, she doesn't mind me saying this, she's going to be 97 soon. And her longevity, a lot of it isn't due to the services that we offer here. I can tell you right now that she's in better shape in her 90s than she was in her 70s, just because of the exercise classes and the programs that they offer. Our instructor, Nancy, over there is phenomenal. I know all the seniors really love her. The minibus service is really unique that we have here, where you can schedule an appointment. They'll come pick you up and bring you to where you want to go within this community. And we do have the United Way recently built the senior housing with 84 units. We had 400 applicants. I should say the United Way had 400 applicants for those 84 units. And we've had a number of developers who want to keep building here in Fair Lawn. We're hesitant just because of the impact that they could have on their schools. But when they talk about senior housing, we're more open to that because we have a number of seniors who've reached out who said, look, we want to stay in Fair Lawn, but we just can't do the upkeep of their house anymore. Can you look at having, smaller units for Fair Lawn seniors? And that's what we're looking at. And I also have, this was something new. We had a lunch this past year. We had a social distance lunch for the happy seniors. And a number of them had to move out of Fair Lawn and a number of them are moving in Clifton. And they're so upset because they didn't want to leave this borough, but because we didn't offer enough senior housing, they had no choice but to leave. So, we're taking upon ourselves to provide that housing to bring those seniors back because we know how badly they want to be back here. And that's something that we're really working on. And I do have to give a lot of credit to Deputy Mayor Christina Catrone. She started the Senior for All Ages program, and we have Lisa McClemens who's running that. And anyone who's listening, please go to Fair Lawn for All Ages. We're doing a huge study on how we can make Fair Lawn more accessible for our seniors. They've provided shoveling for our seniors during these snowstorms. We had about 20 high school students who came out and shoveled seniors out. We're providing food for them when they're in need of that. We're assisting in coordinations with the vaccines. So we're doing just so much more for our seniors, and I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, that's terrific. I did interview Lisa McClemens.
Oh, great.
She's a wonderful woman. And then the other woman also was on the Fair Lawn Chamber of Commerce meeting once. So they are doing tremendous work. So how many actual senior, not centers, but housing units actually went up? Weren't there two different areas that this happened?
So right now we just have the one on the United Way. There is a developer who's interested in the TD Bank over on River Road. making that into senior housing. And then there's a developer over on Pollitt, which is by the train station, where the dialysis center is, making that senior housing. We do want to do like a little bit of balance, so we don't want too larger developments, but just enough where we could fit the needs that our seniors have, and make sure no one's forced to leave Fairlawn.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, they do need those type of things, because a lot of people obviously cannot stay in the houses, even though a lot of seniors want to stay where they were. They don't want to leave that home, but I think it's very tough for them. Like you said, plowing the sidewalk, the maintenance of a home is just so much,
Yes.
It's tough. But it's also up to their children to help somewhat. But they can't always. A lot of them move out of town. I'm also in the real estate business as one of my main things. And I do notice a lot of times, unfortunately, they even say this, a lot of times there are seniors. They might be still by the house. We go into the house to talk about selling it, and it's in squabble, or squalor, whatever the word is. A lot of times the kids don't do anything for that parent for a long time, until they are selling it, and then everybody wants to know where their share of the money is. So it's a very tough situation. It's like different than other cultures where they bring the elderly into the houses and they live all together. So
it really is. It's a tough balance. We see this a lot, where there's sometimes parents that are caring for their parents, and then they're also watching their grandkids at the same time, because in today's economy, you need two working parents. My grandma was really fortunate that my mom really assists her a lot in town with getting around, and we can't thank her enough for that. But at the same time, she also helps us with her grandkids.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I know my mom's really special in that, and I know there's a lot of moms and dads in Fairlawn doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's terrific. But we do find that the taxes, even though we have a zero tax increase now, the taxes are still very high in Bergen County. So a lot of these people are moving south, maybe to the water area, the coast, or people are moving out, also because even though we're not raising the taxes now, our tax rate is very high. So a lot of people just can't afford to retire in a town that the taxes are so high.
Yeah, and it really comes down to the education. Here in Fairlawn, 60% of your taxes go towards the education system. You get what you pay for. We've actually have residents who left New Jersey who went to Florida, but as soon as they had school-age children, they moved right back here.
Yeah.
They said, look, it's night and day, the education system that my child would get in Florida compared to what they would get here in Fairlawn. It is a tough balance, but it comes down to, what do you want? Do you want a highly educated workforce? Do you want good paid teachers that are going to stay on the job? So it's that balancing act, and it's unfortunate, because you look at some of the education systems down south, and the public education is horrendous, but a lot of the people there who are more well off send their kids to private schools. New Jersey is more of a focus on public education.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about a couple of the other developments going up. I know there's a lot of talk what's going on at Plaza Road and Fairlawn Avenue with that whole deals area there. Has it been sold at this time already?
There have been contracts that have been discussed with the owners. Unfortunately, a lot of the attorneys are in non-disclosure agreements. So I know we're trying to find out as much information as we can. We've spoken to a few developers. I know one came recently to a council meeting, which proposal for 165 units of residential. We told them right off the bat, that's not going to fly. We understand that, every developer is going to look for a residential component, but we need that balance. That's a very highly trafficked area. Fairlawn right now is at a good point number-wise. We don't want to increase it by that many residents. So we'll be negotiating with that, and also really focused on the developers of what kind of business they bring in Fairlawn. When Grand Union left that development, there was a huge impact on all the residents that lived around there. So a number of the developers we've spoken to, they're in discussions with Corrado's, Trader Joe's, and other kind of like smaller markets to try to get into that space. The other thing that the council is really looking towards is more public space. We love to see more outdoor eating and also like a little recreation area, not recreation, but more like sitting area where people could just enjoy themselves by that tree. We've seen some proposals that we really like that have reduced the amount of residentials tremendously. So we're still working with the developers who are approaching us and letting them know kind of what we want to see. So we're excited with the progress that it's made. We'll be excited when it's done because that building is falling apart and does need a huge upgrade. And I think once it's done, it'll be something that the whole borough of Fairlawn can be proud of.
Yeah, it's a shame we can't keep the rail yard in there. Will we be able to keep them?
So I guess it depends. I spoke to the owner, Bob.
Bob is such a great guy. Yes.
Yeah. So his goal is to stay there, and obviously the borough is not involved with the leases or anything, but we hope he does as well. We've been really proud of the businesses from Fairlawn forever, but especially during COVID, some of them have really stepped up, and we have not seen a lot of businesses shut down. And that's something we could really thank the residents for really stepping up. A lot of times I've asked people to please go to our local businesses. Like Amazon's not hurting financially. We don't have to order everything online. If we go and we support our local businesses, they'll be fine. And that's what a lot of people have been doing.
Right. I mean, they did say that, because of COVID, and we'll tie back to COVID in a little while, many businesses obviously did go out of business. And they say roughly maybe 30%, 35%. I'm not sure the exact number in Fairlawn, but did we actually lose a lot of businesses because of the pandemic?
We haven't seen too many due to the pandemic. We have seen some due to retirements. Also see some empty spaces just towards like you see on Fairlawn Avenue Plaza because they don't know what's going on with the developer yet.
Yes.
You will see a number of those. But no, we've actually seen a number of expansion. We've seen a lot of local businesses lease or buy the property next to them, knock down the wall and expand it, which we're really excited about. I try to eat out once or twice a week and go to a different business each time and speak to the owners. And the feedback I've been getting has been positive. We've also loosened a lot of our restrictions when it comes to outdoor dining. So with the weather turning and getting a lot nicer, and you might recall from last year, we saw a lot more tents popping up, a lot more outdoor eating. We're going to encourage that and support the businesses everywhere they can. And as I've told all the businesses, we're not putting any additional limitations on top of what the state's doing. So if you see the governor kind of pull back some restrictions, we're going to be in line with that because we want to be as helpful as we can in a safe environment.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I was going to ask you that. Are you in communication with the governor?
Yeah, I can tell you Governor Murphy has been great with reaching out. He actually, I do have a cell phone number, so anything I need, I do reach out to him, and we're really appreciative of that. All our government officials have been really hands-on. Assemblywoman Lisa Swain and the whole legislative 38th district have been hands-on. They've helped a number of residents with filing for unemployment claims here in the borough. The county officials, we're on bi-weekly calls with County Executive Tedesco and the county commissioners. And Congressman Gottheimer is always available. He's been phenomenal and just sharing any federal resources that they have with the borough too.
Terrific. Obviously, there's so many developments and projects going on. It's tough in a short interview. But
yeah, I guess just on that, I'm sorry not to interrupt you, Alan, but just with the developments, we've gotten such a huge demand here in the borough of people who want to develop. So now, you see some development that does go on, but I can't tell you how many developments that we've actually turned away. We tried to do a count a couple of weeks ago. There's over 1,000 units that we've turned away here in the borough of Fairlawn, just because we don't want to see that. You're seeing a lot of development in some other communities, but we really don't want that here in Fairlawn. We want to keep it a lot more balanced. So that's something that we are always cognizant of and making sure, we have the right balance here in Fair Lawn. A lot of people don't know, but we had a higher population in the 1970s than we do today. During the 80s and 90s, we saw a lot of people moving out of Fair Lawn. And we're proud that today people aren't going that direction. Instead, we're seeing more people moving in. And we're trying to have that balance where we have enough space for them, but also doesn't change, who we are as a community.
That's great. We do have a guest online, somebody that wanted to network with us. I'm going to bring him on because he might have additional questions. So we have a little time, and then I'll still ask you a few more. So I know we have Abe Adler from the Fair Lawn Jewish Center. If you'd like to come on and introduce yourself, it'd be a pleasure to have you. If you're still there with us, great.
Well, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Thanks.
Doing well.
Would you have any questions to ask the mayor?
I think maybe the biggest question is whether the mayor has any updates about the space that Nabisco is vacating.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been getting a lot of contacts from developers who are interested in that property. I tell all the developers the same thing. We are not going to have a residential component there. That's the industrial part of Fair Lawn. We want to keep it that way. We've had a few people reach out regarding production companies filming movies, TV shows, and commercials in that space, which we think would be great. But the majority of requests have been doing a distribution center just because of the location. So we've have a number of developers who are interested in making a distribution center with some offices possibly as well. So we would entertain those as well, because with the distribution centers, they bring in a lot of employment. And one of the developers actually said, because, the tough thing with Fair Lawn, financially we'll be okay with Mondelez leaving. We're going to miss the smell of cookies, of course. Right. But the big thing is the employees. 600 employees just lost the job because no fault of their own. And a lot of these developers I'm speaking to, I want to make sure that there's job opportunities for them as well. And a lot of them have shared that with the distribution center. They could easily transition those people into some of those positions. So we're excited about that. We've also had contact with a dozen manufacturing companies throughout the region who are actually offering employment opportunities for a lot of these employees too. We should be seeing some movement though from Mondelez. I know they're moving quickly to sell from what I've heard. So hopefully we'll get something soon and we can present it to the whole community to discuss. I do believe local government works best when we get as much input from the community as possible. So anything we have, we'll definitely share out with the rest of the community. We'll go in that direction. But right now it is zoned as industrial and we want to keep it that way.
Terrific.
Appreciate that.
And what about the ShopRite that's coming in? I had taken over the Pathmark area?
Yeah, so that's going to be a ShopRite and 13 commercial properties, no residential component. And I really like how that kind of section of town, I feel like Fair Lawn's got like multiple downtowns. Yeah. It's really great how that area is kind of developing. We have the Craftsman, which is currently under construction, which will be a nice banquet hall. Once that's open, we'll have the 13 commercial properties. Bolero made some huge investments to their structure. We have Johnny and Hangies, as well as a beautiful preschool program. And we're also going to be putting ShopRite's going to be paying for it, which we're excited about, a traffic light on Henderson and Maple to help as a traffic calming measure in that area. So it should be a beautiful location when it's all done. And they're also planting, I believe, 40 full grown trees to they kind of blend in with the river that's right there in the surrounding area.
Yeah, it is a beautiful area. Just one other area that I just want to ask you about, the Kmart area. A lot of people are asking what's going to happen and where the old Kmart was.
Yeah, so that's Elmwood Park. So
that's actually Elmwood. That's right over the border. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that would be. But what I have heard is that's going to be a ShopRite as well. So that's from what I've heard. That would be Elmwood Park. They're
both. Are they distribution centers or they're actually just the supermarket? In both,
I believe they're going to both be supermarkets.
Close. I mean, we do have one on River Road. It's 5-10 minutes to Paramus, and all of a sudden ShopRite is coming into two of these areas.
Yeah, apparently based on the numbers that the models that they've been looking at is that they're getting enough customers where they can support all these different food centers.
Oh, that's incredible. I mean, you have Acme right over there, but Acme's a little higher priced, I believe, than a ShopRite. So, but it is Elmwood Park, but it's great that it will be near us.
Yeah, Acme, if we're talking about the same one over off of Route 4 in Elmwood Park,
Yeah.
that actually left because they got scared away once ShopRite was coming in.
Oh, I didn't realize that they closed down. I mean, I just passed by it. I don't shop there that often. I didn't, but I didn't.
Sure.
And River Road is starting to look beautiful. You have 2 new developments going up there as well.
Yeah, River Road. If anyone could remember what River Road looked like in the 80s and 90s, I mean, I hate to put it this way, but it was like falling apart. Where it is today is really phenomenal. We're seeing a lot more continuation in the businesses there, and what we're looking at, like the downtown model, is kind of reflecting what we've seen in other successful ones, such as Ridgewood, Metuchen, Red Bank, where you have that mixed use. That's really what supports these businesses. We were actually just on a call recently with one of our economic development directors, and he was sharing that for every unit that is built, $14,000 of expenditures go out to the local businesses. So when you have those smaller developments that are right on top, they really help support those local businesses. Now, we're not looking to do those large developments that you see in some of these other communities where it's like 300, 400 units. I think when you kind of have that balance with, 10 units here, 10 units there, it goes in the right direction. And a lot of that too is already in the zoning procedures for downtown areas. And also, I think a lot of people would be helped to know some of the housing laws are brought down by the state. So we do have to abide by a lot of the fair share housing requirements. So when you do see some of those developments, sometimes, we have to do them.
Right. Great. Great. As we're wrapping up, Abe, do you have any other questions for the mayor?
Well, just a follow-up question on what the mayor was just talking about. All the changes and developments are terrific. Clearly, traffic and parking are going to be an issue on River Road. It already is. River Road is a major throughway during rush hours. What's the town thinking for managing that going forward?
Yeah, so the first thing is, with the developments that are going up, they were required to offer more parking than other developments have in the past. I think a lot of the models that developers have used have been greatly outdated. I think we've seen this here in the borough of Fairlawn. Used to have houses with 1 or 2 cars. Now they have 4 or 5. So we're looking at that. We're also doing a complete borough-wide traffic study. Once COVID hopefully is over in the near future, we just don't want to do that study now because obviously traffic is not what it is at a normal rate. So once we get that information, then we're going to put forward plans for parking, not just in River Road, but just borough-wide. And the other thing we're doing is increasing our in our police department, our traffic safety division. So we just approved, in the introductory of budget, which will hopefully be approved this month, we're bringing on an additional sergeant in the traffic safety department to really look at these areas and give some guidance of how we go forward, and also help with enforcement on these as well. Because a lot of times too, we're having a lot of traffic issues because people just aren't abiding by the laws that are set in place. So we do think that enforcement is a big component of that as well.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring up that last point, but it's definitely noticeable. The traffic violations and left turns during rush hour times is probably something that's worth looking at.
Definitely. That's a major thing for us. And the other thing is, traffic calming measures and working with the county, because the other issue we have is in all our major roads are county roads, such as Fairlawn Ave, River Road, Moorlot, Saddle River Road. So we need to get buy-in from them. So the council did send a letter to the county requesting that all the county roads within the borough of Fairlawn reduce their speed limit to 25 miles per hour. And also we're working with the county for traffic lights. The traffic light over on Wagara and River Road, that took 25 years for that to get put in place. We're working with the county on Saddle River Road and Fairlawn Ave.
Oh, please.
It should be completed. Yeah, it should be completed this spring. It was delayed because of COVID, but that in itself took probably about 5 years to get accomplished. Now that seems like a really long time, but when you're working with the county, that looks like light speed compared to the 20 years that it took previously. So that's something that we're definitely working on. We understand traffic, and speaking to other mayors throughout the state of New Jersey, it's an issue everywhere. As I mentioned, it's just there's so many more cars on the road nowadays than there was ever before. As I mentioned earlier, in the 1970s, we had more residents than we do today, but I can assure you we have probably double as much of cars as we do today as we did in the 1970s. It's just different than it was with the amount of households in the cars.
Yeah, of course. The teenagers, 16, 17, 18, by then, everybody's looking for a car. They have to travel to schools and all that. So,
yeah. And I think that's also something you're seeing that's different too. When I describe the difference in socioeconomics here in the town, you're having a lot more people who are more economically well off who aren't leaving the borough of Fairlawn, and you're seeing a lot more high schoolers with cars than you did in years past. So that's having an increasing amount of traffic as well.
I noticed that you loosened the ruling on overnight parking. Is that only because of COVID and the snow and all that, or is that something that has been considered before?
It was only due to COVID because a number of residents had college-age children. They were home when they usually wouldn't be. But that is now enforceable starting March 1st. Oh. We are enforcing on-street parking again. This is about 7 years ago. We did a town-wide survey, and I can tell you with overwhelming demand, people wanted no cars parked on the street. I think it really gives Fairlawn a nice feel, like seeing those empty roads, and it also helps our first responders a lot when the roads are clear. And then our DPW, when it snows, those cars on the road are the biggest pain. So we do want to enforce that, no parking on the streets at night.
Yeah, great. Wow, terrific. Mayor Kurt, this has been a great in-depth interview with you. You're very transparent. It's great to have somebody like you here as mayor, and the way you came up the ranks, and you're a neighborhood boy, so you really know the town, and I do believe you are an advocate for us residents here in town. So it's really noble what you're doing and what you're continuing to do for the community, and really speaking for the residents. It's terrific.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure. This is a great resource for all the residents to take part in. So thank you so much. I feel like we can go on for hours, and we just kind of scratched the surface. It's great speaking to you today.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you to our guest, Abe Adler from the Fairlawn Jewish Center, for joining us. Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Alan Cohen. I am on the Fairlawn Board of Directors for the Fairlawn Chamber. It is a pleasure to do these interviews. So today's business spotlight was Mayor Kurt Peluso, and it was a pleasure speaking with him today. Thank you to the Fairlawn Chamber of Commerce, and signing off, everyone still stay safe out there. Thank you very much.